Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good evening. Oh, see, do you recognise this song? It's nothing to do with what I'm going to do tonight, but it's been in my head all day. And I think it's because of if you saw the impromptu live that I did this morning for the Amy Fitzpatrick case. I think it's because of that, because she was Irish. I don't know, but it's come into my head. I can't get it out of my head. It's one of my favourite songs of all time. So I'm just going to play it briefly. I can't play it much because of copyright and things, but just see if you know this song and tell me, do you like it? Such a fool for you. Anyway, do you know what it is? As I say, I can't play it for long because there'll be copyright on that. I'll get chucked off or something. But I love that song, and it's just been playing through my head all day. I think, as I say, because of the Amy Fitzpatrick case. If you haven't watched that video from this morning, have a look at it. I will be editing it and putting in some photos and things when YouTube lets me download it, which they're not letting me download it just yet, which I'm not sure why. I think with live streams, I suppose I have to just check them, make sure, I don't know, there's nothing weird in there or whatever, but it's not letting me download it at the moment. But as soon as I can download it, I will be adding photos and making it a better video. Okay, so good evening. So say hello to me. Let me know you're there. I know you're there because I can see you there on the numbers mounting up. But if you say hello, let me know where you're watching from, what you've been up to today. Let's see, what day is it? So it's Sunday. I've had a little bit of sunbathing today. It's been a better day today. It rained here yesterday. Hailstorm. There was massive storms here yesterday. Our dogs, they were terrified. So yeah, and we got struck by lightning. Our house got struck by a thunderbolt of lightning and the electricity went off. But luckily, it was just literally for a moment. Okay, so tonight I'm going to be talking to you about Levi Bellfield. Or maybe I should say I'm going to be talking to you about Yusuf Rahim, because this is Levi Bellfield's new name. Oh, thank you. Some of you have done a like, press the likes if you don't mind. And because it just helps with the algorithms or whatever they are. And also, if you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing. If you are subscribed, thank you ever so much. Okay, so yes, maybe we should now call him Yusuf Rahim, because while he's been in prison, he has converted to Islam. Now, I don't know what you already know about Levi Bellfield, but he's a really, really evil killer. I mean, all killers are evil, but he's especially evil. And he's a game player. You know, when I first saw that and that he'd converted to Islam, because I always like to try and think the best of people, I thought, well, maybe he's found religion, and whatever we think of the actual Muslim. Hi, Rachel. Hi. Actual Muslim religion, the fundamental basis of it is good. It's peace loving. It's, a good message. And so when I first heard that he'd converted, sorry, I'm just wondering why my phone, I've realised why it's making that noise. Hang on, just let me few technical difficulties. So that's that. So I can put this back on. Gosh, I was all organised and then everything always goes wrong, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I thought, oh, he's converted to Islam. Maybe he's found God or found Muhammad or whatever he's found. But of course, no. It turns out that if you, apparently there's an absolute sort of surge of what are called convenience Muslims in prison because they get a better diet. They get, because a lot of them don't eat meat. So they get vegetarian diet, they get more food. They get let out for longer periods, I presume, to pray. They have to go and pray, don't they, so many times. So some of these people who were never Muslims have converted. I don't think they should be allowed to do that, to be honest. If you're a Muslim, when you go in, well, fair enough, that's what you are. But why should you be allowed to convert to a Muslim just because that gives you better perks in prison? Anyway, so there's a few things that while good old Levi has been in prison, he's learnt that he can drip feed these bits of information about victims that weren't known about. And although his lawyer insists that there's no advantage for him in giving this information, it's all right. Don't worry about your spelling, Rachel. I'm rubbish at spelling as well. So his lawyer, she says, oh no, he's got nothing to gain by giving away these extra victims, disclosing victims that weren't known about before and giving details. He has got something to gain from it. He's got a lot to gain from it. He's probably drip feeding these. Well, why doesn't he just sit down and say, look, these are all my victims. This is where they're buried. Why is he drip feeding it for a start? I mean, he is serving a whole life tariff. He can't ever come out of prison. So he's never, he can't be doing like some sort of plea deal or trying to get out earlier or anything like that. That can't happen. He will never, ever come out of prison. Thank God. But what he's doing, maybe he's getting extra perks, maybe every time he discloses some information about potential victims. But why, if he really cared about the victims' families, because this is what he says, that he's disclosed this victim that he's come out with, is because he wants the family of the victim to have some peace. If that's true, why doesn't he just tell us all about his other victims? Because apparently it's thought that there's quite a few more, that this lady is not the only one, let's say. And so it's always hard to know where to start with these stories, because there may be some of you out there who don't know anything about Levi Bellfield. Even though I think he's quite, he's a well-known serial killer. But obviously some of you might not know about him. Some of you in different countries might not know about him. So let me tell you a little bit. I need to probably start by just telling you a little bit about Levi Bellfield and the type of person he turned out to be. So he was nicknamed the bus stop killer, because how he found his victims, or a lot of his victims, most of his victims, he would wait in his van at bus stops late at night and see what young girls got off the bus, and then he would follow them. It may not be, he was just constantly trolling around looking for victims. It could be daytime or nighttime. It wouldn't make any difference to Levi. Some people even think, well, we know because we've got CCTV, that he would actually follow buses. So he would just drive around at night or in the day, following buses and seeing, buses are lit from inside. You can see quite clearly from the outside who's on those buses, especially when there's not many people on them. So if he spotted a young girl on the bus, he would then follow that bus until that young girl got off the bus, and then he would follow her, bundle her into his van, and or sometimes he wouldn't even take her away. He would just kill her there and then with a hammer. He would go up behind her and kill her, or run her. He run one victim over with a car several times. She luckily survived. And we'll be talking about her. We'll be talking about all the victims that we know about. So that's what he did, and he did this for quite a long time. You know, quite a few years that he did this, but he was finally caught. Now, when he was first caught, he was in fact only charged with 2 murders, which were, let me just get up the names. Gosh, I have my notes all over the place. I should be a bit more. So it was, let me see, Amélie de Lagrange. She was a French student. I hope I haven't pronounced that wrongly. I probably have pronounced it wrongly. Shall I start from his very first victims? Gosh, so difficult to know where to start with this guy. No, we'll start with those. Let me, sorry. You know, when you think you're all organised, I got so organised and right. No, we'll start with the victims that he was actually charged with, I think, and not the other victims that now that we think need to be taken into account, or it seems need to be taken into account. So he was found guilty of the murders of Marcia MacDonald and Anne Lagrange. I hope I've pronounced that right. And he was also charged with the attempted murder. That was really what caught him in that. This is what he was initially charged with. He was later charged with another murder, but that was later on when he was already in prison. Sheedy, very young girl, she was coming home, got off a bus, was walking home. She saw a van, which she said at the time she thought was strange that the van was running, you know, the engine was on, but they didn't pick, you know, the lights were off. So although the engine was running, there were no lights on. And she thought, oh, that's strange. Hi, Jackie. Jackie says he won't change his spots. No, he won't. He's an evil man. And these things he's doing now that he's trying to make out he's converted to Islam and he's a better person, he's not. Anyway, so Kate noticed this van just there with the engine running but the lights off, and then before she knew anything else, it had run over her. He then backed up and ran over her again, and she had her mobile with her, and she phoned the police, and I've listened to the 999 call, and it's very moving because they say to her, what struck me is they said to her, where does it hurt? And she just said everywhere, because she'd been, you know, trampled by this car, but she survived, and so she could, that really led to his downfall, because she could describe the van. And then when they put other things together and evidence together, then he was it was found, he was found guilty of these other murders as well. Now, these were 3 very young girls. They were all blonde. And then there was a very famous case, which a lot of you will remember, the case of Milly Dowler. I believe she was only 14 years old. She disappeared, again, near a bus stop. And then later, her remains were found in Woodland, and eventually Levi Bellfield, while he was already in prison, he admitted to the murder of Milly Dowler. So he's in prison for 3 counts of murder. He's got a whole life tariff. He'll never be out of prison. He's got no chance of parole. He's one of the very few prisoners in Britain that have this whole life tariff, that they can never be released. Now, so apart from converting to Islam, while he's in prison. He's also become engaged to be married. I mean, what is wrong with these women? You quite often hear this, of women. They start writing to these killers. In America, they have dating sites for prisoners. I mean, you can you can go on these dating sites and find a prisoner to have a romantic relationship with. I mean, I just don't understand it. Did she not? Does she think? Well, she says he's changed. He's changed. He showed remorse. He's not the person he was. He's a completely different person now. Of course he is. But I don't know. Anyway, he applied to be married to this lady who we don't know her name. Her name's not been disclosed, but she's given a few interviews. Probably been paid for the interviews, I would imagine. Anyway, that's her thing. And she said that they haven't had marital, they haven't had intimate relations in prison, but they've kissed and cuddled, and oh yeah, he's just a teddy bear now. He's like, he's changed in all these years that he's been in prison. He's changed completely. Well, okay. So he applied to marry this lady, and the one good thing, if you know Dominic Raab, who was the Justice Secretary, who's recently been sacked for bullying, but one good thing that he did do was he blocked this wedding, and he was trying to start a new law where people could not get married if they were in prison for murder, etc. But of course, he's been sacked now, so he's not the Justice Secretary anymore. He put a block on the wedding at the time, and it just remains to be seen what the new Justice Secretary will do about it. So we'll see. And what do you think about that? Do you think prisoners should be able to get married? In Spain, I don't know about murder suspects, but prisoners do get conjugal visits. People in the prisons in Spain, they are allowed conjugal visits. What do you think about that? Does it make sense? Jackie's saying no way, but does it make sense? I don't know. Does it? I suppose it depends on the crime that they've committed, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know the full details about in Spain, whether it's only for non-serious crimes, if any crimes are non-serious, but maybe not murderers are allowed it, but certainly people that are in for lesser crimes. I knew someone who was able to do that. Right, okay, so that's why he's in prison. That's why he's in prison from those victims. Now, since he's been in prison, and the reason why I changed to him today for this serial killer Sunday was because just yesterday or the day before, there was breaking news that he has now confessed to the murder of Elizabeth Chow, who disappeared quite a while ago, I think. Probably haven't written it down. If I don't write it down, I don't remember it. But earlier this year, his sister, Levi's sister, she had said that she thought that Levi was responsible not only for Elizabeth Chow's disappearance, presumed murder, but she also thought that he was responsible for the disappearance of Lola Shenkoya. I hope I haven't pronounced her name wrong, because she's Polish, but she's I say she's Polish, but she was US born. She's US born, and she hadn't been in London very long when she disappeared, and she was 27 years old. Now, the thing with Elizabeth and Lola, which he hasn't confessed to the murder of Lola yet, he's suspected of it, but he hasn't confessed to it. But his sister insists that she thinks he was part of it, because he mentioned these disappearances to her. He actually brought these disappearances up to her. So that's why she thinks that he may be responsible. Now, they are a difference from his usual victim type, because a lot of serial killers have a victimology, that there's particular victims. You know, they might like blondes, or they might like brunettes, or they might like women with long hair, or, you know, they tend to have a type. And of course, Elizabeth Chow, she is Vietnamese, so she's Asian. And the other lady, Lola, she is a woman of colour. She is a black woman. And so that might have thrown the police off a bit, because it was assumed that Levi Bellfield had a victimology, a type, because it was normally young blonde girls that he used. That Debbie Langton. Hi, Debbie. And so that might have thrown them off a little bit. Anyway, apparently he has confessed to this crime, well, to the Elizabeth Chow, and he has told the police where her body is buried. So this will tell us if he's telling the truth or not. Obviously, if the body is there where he says it is, the police are, I presume they'll start tomorrow. I don't know. It might have started today. I don't know if they, you know, they're probably not much urgency, because obviously the poor girl, poor Elizabeth, is no longer on this earth. But her family are desperate for answers, and her family are quite angry with the police. So this is the Met Police. Well, you know, the Met Police, when they're not murdering dogs or raping women or abducting women and murdering them, what they're doing is ignoring people whose family members are missing. And her family are Vietnamese, obviously, and they still live in the area, said they felt like they'd been, you know, ignored because of their ethnicity. And I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe they would have been ignored anyway. Maybe that, you know, at the end of the day, the Met Police haven't got the most brilliant reputation, have they? So I don't know. But so they're preparing to search this area, and I hope, you know, I have to pray that they will find Elizabeth's body, because that would just bring some comfort to the family, because obviously they know, they've probably realised for quite a long time that she's probably not coming back. But to actually be able to lay her to rest, a decent funeral, and pay their last respects is something. So he's confessed to that now, but we have to bear in mind that last year he also confessed to the murders of Megan and Lynn Russell, which is a very famous case that was quite an old case now. And there's actually somebody serving a prison sentence for their murders at the moment. Is it Michael Stone? I think his name is. Now, from the research I did today on that, it's felt that it's not true that Levi committed those murders, that they're holding a review on the case, but they feel, the general feeling is, it's going to be found that no other action should be taken. I know, Debbie, what's that? Do you think, why, you know, what if, is it because, maybe it's always been the same, Debbie, maybe they've never been, you know, they can't be perfect, can they? But is it because we get to know about things more now because of social media, YouTube, etc.? Hi, Sheila. Sheila's a real detective as well there. I think Sheila knows a lot about, she probably knows as much, if not more than me, about a lot of cases. She does a lot of digging, don't you? And it's... is that why that it seems like there's this abject failure in the police, the Met Police, the Lancashire Police? You think, well, are any of the police any good? Or is it just because we delve into things so much more now? You know, maybe we didn't before. You know, there has been this sort of surge in interest in true crime because we can research things ourselves now. We don't just have to rely on what we're told. We can look into things, we can go on the internet, we can get information, and we can do our own little bit of sleuthing, if you like. maybe that's why. So maybe it's not that it's worse now. It's just that we're more aware of it now, possibly. I don't know. So that's so where are we? So he's in prison for 2 murders and an attempted murder. 3 murders and an attempted murder. He's now divulged or confessed to the murder of this poor soul, Elizabeth Chow. Now, there's a few other, the police are convinced there are other victims. I think there's bound to be other victims. I mean, he's probably been going around doing, God knows the things he's done. And he will drip feed this information because that gives him power. And a man like that who's had a lot of power, gone out, virtually done whatever he wanted, he's abused every partner he's ever had. He's been in a position of control and power. And then now he's in prison with men, and maybe he's turned that way as well. Who knows? Because if someone who wants power and control, I don't think it really matters who you're having power and control over. I think they just don't get off on the actual power thing. It could be anybody really. They'll just take what they can get. But I mean, his school sweetheart, Patsy Morris, she was 14 when she was found strangled on Hounslow Heath. 14, he was 12 at the time. He's never been charged with it, but nobody has ever been held accountable for that crime. Just seems a bit, doesn't it? Was that his first crime? There was no sex assault. It was strangulation, which isn't really his. He tends to go behind. Because he's such a fucking coward. He goes behind young girls and whacks them on the back of the head with a hammer or runs over them in a car normally. So strangulation's not his normal thing, but who knows? But how, we'll probably never know if that was him or not. But it just seems a coincidence, doesn't it? He's a serial killer. She was his childhood sweetheart and she's found strangled and nobody's ever been held accountable for it. Another victim that the police think might have been his. Again, this one doesn't really fit into his mould because she was 51 years old and he normally killed young girls. But again, depends, doesn't it? If he just comes, if he just gets an opportunity and takes it. And she was murdered and her bag exit in October the 20th in 1990. So it was about the time that he was operating. Her belongings were untouched, but a neck chain was stolen from her. Her name was Judith Silver. And again, this is just someone the police suspect might possibly be a victim. Then there was there are a lot of Polish names here and foreign names, which I'm just so sorry if I pronounce it wrong because I'm bound to. But anyway, Iona Kaminska, who was a Polish student, aged 20. That's more his sort of normal type, if you like. She disappeared in Hammersmith on July the 13th, 2000, 4 days after arriving in the UK. Bless her. And then one more, and this was definitely his victim. Now, what about this? So Anne-Marie Rennie, she was 17 years old. She actually identified Levi Bellfield from a video post, a video lineup. The police presented her with a video lineup, and she identified him 4 years after she had been abducted and held prisoner. She identified Levi Bellfield, and it went to court. And in 2005, but the jury couldn't reach a verdict. So he was not prosecuted, even though he was actually identified by the victim. And that's a bit annoying, isn't it? Because that could have, if he had been found guilty, he could have yeah, you know, Debbie, you're right. He would, if he didn't know, some women do look younger and some older, and you know, and then maybe he just took whatever opportunity he got. I think it makes it more difficult for the police when they go, you know, I think the police probably, after the murders that it has been prosecuted for, they were very similar in their looks, etc. So they probably, when they were looking at these other cases, maybe they've been a bit blindsided by it. I don't know. But anyway, let's hope he does confess, because the point of him confessing is, obviously, doesn't bring these girls back or these women back. They can never come back. But what can happen is their families can find out what's happened to them, and they can be brought home, can't they, for a funeral, and, you know, all those things that, although it doesn't take away from the fact, but they've lost them now anyway. Some of them, as with Elizabeth, you know, they've been waiting a long time, a long, long time. It's probably been 15 years, I think, since she went missing. So, you know, it'd be nice for them to know exactly what happened to her. Right, so those are other prospective victims that we don't know yet, but hopefully he may come out with. Hi, Finola. So now let me tell you a little bit about Levi. I don't want to talk too much about him, and because I'd rather talk, you know, about his victim. I'm going to talk about his daughter and a couple of other things. I don't, because, you know, sometimes you know, that people try and what's the word? Try and find a reason why these people are the way they are and they do the things they do. I don't think there is any reason. You know, there's like, they're just not right. They're not wired right. You know, they can blame environment. They can. I don't believe it. I've seen people who were dragged up, who were terribly abused, didn't turn out as serial killers. And then other people who did turn out as serial killers, you know, they had everything, you know, they had the best childhood, you know, anyone could expect, and they still turned out to be serial killers. There's something wrong inside. There has to be. I do think it might be made worse by environment. I'm sure it doesn't help if then afterwards they're abused or whatever. But I don't think that's what causes it. I think those thoughts have to be there. You know, they have to be there. And there's always been these types of people, and there always will be. Now, Levi was born in May the 17th in 1968. And his mother is a lot, again, it drives me absolutely mad. A lot of stock is made on the relationship that he had with his mother Jean. One of his ex-partners, you know, did this sort of tell-all thing about Levi when he went to prison. And she said that he slept in his mother's bed until he was 13, and she used to wipe his backside for him, and, you know, lots of things. That they had this really sort of strange relationship. Yeah, I expect there's lots of boys like that. Oh, yeah, his birthday's in a few days. Oh, shall we send him a birthday card? I think we should send him a really horrible birthday card. Aye. Yes, Milly Dowler. Milly Dowler was very young, wasn't she? She was only 14, I think. So, anyway, so yeah, can't blame it on his mother, for goodness sake. Anyway, she's no longer with us, his mother. She died at the age of 81 with a lung condition. Maybe that'll be a reason why he will start to say more about his victims, because he probably wouldn't have wanted his mum to know that he, you know, killed more people, and that she always protected his innocence, and that of course she did. I mean, his ex-partner said, oh, she couldn't seem to do any wrong. But I think, there's a lot of parents who are guilty of that. I mean, not murder, obviously, and things that I think it'd be hard to accept, wouldn't it? I mean, you have to feel for the parents because, you wouldn't think your child was capable of something like that. So it'd be hard to accept. But as far as normal life's concerned, you do tend to take your child's side in things, don't you? And that, I think that is human nature, really, to be honest. And the other thing about the ex-partner, and I've got a name written down somewhere, which I probably won't be able to find. I always find the things that I'm not looking for when I'm looking for something else. So I can't find this lady's name now. But she had children with him, but she says he was abusive, he raped her, etc., etc. But, she came out and did this story. That must have been quite difficult for his children, I suppose, to hear all those details as well. But anyway, for whatever reason, she did come out and say all that then. I think, actually, to be fair, I think she may have been the one that who alerted the police to him as well, to tell them, about him when they were looking for, because she said he was, oh no, that was his sister, said that he was clamping in that area. So he was a wheel clamper. He's done various jobs. He's a bouncer, a wheel clamper. He did some drug running and things like that. He was one of those people that had his finger in a lot of pies. He's part of the travelling community, or his parents were part of the travelling community. Not that I'm casting any aspersions on them, because there's lots of them that don't do anything wrong. I'm just saying about his background. Yeah, he was, when he was at school, he was at like little puny person, and yeah, he was a little puny type lad who was bullied by the girls, and this is apparently why he liked blonde girl. He hated blonde girls because he'd been bullied by the attractive girls at school. And then he started weightlifting and taking steroids and this, that, and the other. And he, in the end, I don't know if he was a very tall guy, but he was certainly, quite sort of brawny. But this ex-partner, she said she reckoned that he was fixated with blondes. Now, this is quite a few years ago when she said this, and that she found a magazine where all the blonde women in this magazine had been like, he'd taken a knife and actually cut their faces out. And she felt, power, Debbie, I think. Anyway, we don't know. Only he knows the reasons why he hated blonde women so much. Apparently his mum, because people say these things, that said, oh, his mum had dark hair. So that's what, you can put all these reasons in. Maybe just look for vulnerable victims. He's following buses around. If he sees a schoolgirl get off the bus, or a young girl, it tends to be young girls wandering around at night, doesn't it? And maybe it's just coincidence. If he just saw a woman in a vulnerable position, it wouldn't matter who it was. Okay, so another thing I want to. I started off because I didn't want to do like the thing about his life and what he did. I wanted to talk about the victim, the bad things that he did in that sense, and the victims and the possible victims that are still left to find. And then something else that came up while I was doing the research that I did want to talk about is his children. So he's got 11 children by 3 different women. So obviously women must have liked him. Do you know? I mean, I don't know. He must have been able to be charming at times, at least to, to find these relationships, even if they turned into nightmare relationships afterwards. There must have been, well, that, you only have to look at his photos and that. He's not, they didn't like him for his looks, did they? I mean, he's not really what you'd call a handsome guy. So what did he have? Now, Debbie's mentioning there about David Carrick. Yeah, I'd like to do a video. Unfortunately, there's so many videos I'd like to do because
David Carrick, of course, if you don't know, was one of these Metropolitan Police that have been, you know, he seems to be one of the worst. I mean, I don't have the actual figures, but you know, he was convicted of many rapes, wasn't he? Somebody in chat might know how many. And domestic abuse, and he was in the Met Police for years. There definitely seems to be a culture of misogyny, doesn't they, in the police, in the Met Police, maybe in the Lancashire Police, maybe in all police forces. I don't know enough about it. And he got a full life term as well. Yeah, so he's in exalted company with keep calling him Levi Bellfield, having a full life term. Are you saying that actually David Carrick got murdered, but he didn't kill anyone, did he, David Carrick, Debbie? I don't think he killed anyone, did he? What is David Carrick the Metropolitan Police officer? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll look into that. Oh, he did kill someone. Right, okay. Well, there you go. I didn't know that, so that needs to be looking at. Yeah, and when he took Milly Dowler, he did take her on a really busy road around tea time. Yeah, just shows you, you know, poor Milly, she would have thought she was safe. She was just walking up the road. She'd probably done it. She'd got off a bus, I think she'd had a coffee with her friends or had a drink with her friends or whatever, and then said she would walk home, and literally just sort of vanished on the way. And he just happened to be this ex-partner that I was talking about. She had a flat around the corner from there, so he was probably hiding in the bushes, and he's just took a chance and grabbed her. But you know, who knows? Well, he knows, I suppose. Okay, so yeah, I want to talk about so he's got 11 children by 3 different mothers. So yeah, women must like him for some unknown reason. And I want to talk about his oldest daughter, because she has Bobby. That's it, Bobby. Now, the information that I read about her, she was only 17 then at the time, so she's in her 30s now, I would imagine. And she said when she was 8, you know, which when they were together, like as a family with her and her mother, he would eye up her friends, and it made her skin crawl. You know, she realized that he wasn't, you know, right, you know, like not like other dads. And he would make her go with him, like, and he'd be stalking girls, and he'd say, "Oh, what do you look at the arse on that?" Or, you know, actually to her when she was an 8-year-old child. And she hasn't seen him since Christmas 2002, but he beat her mother black and blue, you know, so she lived through all that abuse, you know, she witnessed all that abuse, etc. It must have been awful for her. And he would make her go with him when he did, he made her go with him when they did like robbed, was it a jeweler's or was it a newsagent's? They robbed a shop, him and, you know, because he had his fingers in all these nefarious pies and that, but he would make her accompany him. And he said he always had cash because he was always doing drug deals, so he always had lots of money. But, you know, his violence towards her mother, one time he hit her with a bike wheel and a brick. So nice, yeah. But his current girlfriend, who he's met while he's in prison, insists he isn't a monster, he's changed. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he'll have changed? Nah. Now, I think this is going to turn into a long-running saga with Levi Bellfield. David Carrick didn't kill anyone but tried to kill himself. Yeah, I didn't think he had actually killed anyone. I mean, not, you know, doesn't make him a saint, but I didn't think he had killed anyone. But he tried to kill himself, yeah. Same as Wayne Couzens, because of course Wayne Couzens, he's the other Met police officer, isn't he, that killed Sarah Everard, and he's in prison. I think he's got a whole life tariff as well. Does anybody know? Has he got a whole? There's not many people in Britain have a whole life tariff. But I think Wayne Couzens might be one of them. Okay, so I think that's all I prepared about Levi Bellfield. Now, oh, sorry. So I was saying, so yeah, I think this is going to be an ongoing thing for Levi. Now, bear in mind, he's not going to, well, apparently he did attempt to self-delete once. Maybe it would have been better if he would have actually managed to do it. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because at the end of the day, he's going to be there in prison just trying to make the most of the system, pretending he's converted to Islam so he can get better food and more time out of his cell. You know, maybe it would have been better if he would have been successful in doing that and just, you know, but having said that, if there's still victims out there, that it might be a chance that they get found. Probably better that he didn't. But I think he's going to drip feed this right through his sentence. So he's feeling good. He's in power. He's in control. He's still managing to inflict misery, even though he's not at large in society, because... Hi, Jill. Yes, of course, it's always better late than never. Don't forget, don't forget to press like. When I talk for a long time, because I did quite a long video this morning as well. I feel like I've been talking a lot today. All my mouth gets all mixed up. So, so what was I saying? So I got distracted again. Yeah. If he can keep the attention on him, because at the end of the day, when you get a narcissist, a serial killer like that, who's got pleasure out of inflicting damage on people, and then suddenly he can't do that now. He can't do what he was enjoying. You know, that was like his hobby, wasn't it? You know, most of us choose gardening or sort of making YouTube videos or doing whatever. But no, for Levi, really, his sort of extracurricular activities were going out and killing women. He can't do that now. So the nearest he can get to it is by attracting, this is what there's, you know, a lot of the police are saying about him now. It's the attention. But they have to listen to him, because if it comes up with one victim, if Elizabeth's body is found and she's returned to her family, it's worth all those times that they had to sit and listen to Levi, you know, going on and talking and not knowing if he's telling the truth or not. Like with Meghan and Lynn Russell, they don't know if he's telling the truth or not. I don't know why they don't believe him with that one, but they believe him with this one. I mean, at the end of the day, there'll be proof with Elizabeth, because if they find the body in the place where he said the body was, then obviously he's telling the truth. I think with Meghan and Lynn, it's harder to... because obviously they already had the bodies, and I think it's harder to link him directly, you know, for the sake of actually taking him to court. But if Michael Stone is innocent, I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? He's been in prison already a long time. So, well, you know, he can't get that life back. And if it was Levi that did it, then, you know, that needs to be sorted pretty quick, and at least get Michael out if he is innocent. What do you think? Do you think Michael Stone is innocent? Or do you think that's just, you know, because unbelievably, quite often killers admit to all sorts of murders for whatever reason. Sometimes it's, sometimes I think it's just for something to do, don't you? Because imagine if you're in prison, it must be pretty boring, really. At the end of the day, it's pretty boring. You're used to sort of, you know, having this other life where you're going out and committing your crimes, which is what you enjoy doing. I mean, most serial killers, that's the thing they enjoy doing more than anything. that's taken away from you. So to get a bit of excitement, a bit of attention, get out of the cell for a bit, have somebody listen to them for a bit, they can probably ask for, I'm 100% certain that although his lawyer might say there was nothing in it to confess to this murder of Elizabeth, he'll have got something in return. You know, it could be just a PlayStation game, or I don't know, whatever, Xbox, or it could be just something like that, or an extra meal a day, or some treats like some chocolate or something extra. But there is definitely he'll have got something for this. He won't have done it just for Elizabeth's family, because if that is true, that he's thinking of the family, he needs to think about the other families as well that he could put out their misery, you know. So I think he's going to drip feed this. If he's 54 years old, so he could have another 30, 40 years. I mean, at the end of the day, they get looked after in prison. He could, you know, who knows how long. Look how long Peter Sutcliffe lived, and Ian Brady and these, but they lived for years. You know, because they're well looked after. They've got no worries, have they? They don't have to pay an electricity bill. They're not trying to deal with the cost of living like everybody else is. They've got nothing to worry about. So they live long times, often live a long time, don't they? Oh, Marcia, oh, you're here, Marcia. Oh, thank you. It worked, did it, this time? Yeah, I'm not very good with those kind of things. So I'll just put the link there and then, you know, whatever. But thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. So anybody, any particular, gosh, I feel like I'm, that case that I did this morning of Amy Fitzpatrick, if anybody has watched that video, that was suggested to me quite a long time ago by a subscriber. I'm not sure if it was one of my subscribers called Robin, or I can't remember who actually suggested it, but it was a while ago. And I remembered it because it was in Spain. It was something that happened in Spain. But of course, with the Nicola Bulley case is so, I know there's not much news at the moment, but every now and again something comes out, and then there's always another case. There was the Stewart case. It's like, I feel like I could do 2-3 videos a day, really, because all these cases are important. And then when I started looking at Amy's case, and then when I found out what I did, that this guy who is suspected of killing her, who is her stepfather, then later on actually did kill her brother in a brawl that they had. And then he appealed. He got sentenced for manslaughter, and yeah, Nicola Ray was it. So I did the thing about the video on Nicola Ray as well. So anyway, Amy's stepfather said, appealed against his sentence for killing Amy's brother by saying that he had walked onto his knife and he was actually trying to commit suicide. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So then when I read that, and I thought, oh my God, I've got to do this video now, because I couldn't believe it. And then I couldn't believe that her mother, the mother of Amy and her brother, is still with this man, still with him, defending him. And so her daughter disappeared under suspicious circumstances and had never been seen for 15 years. He was violent towards her daughter. That's well known. Everybody knew that. Then he killed her son, and she's still with him. She's still with him, defending him. And I just think, what is wrong with her, that she's still with this man? It can't just because she's scared of him, because she could have got away from him. You know, he was in prison for a while. She could have got away with him. But what is it about this man that she finds him more important than her own children. You know, not just one of them either, but both of them. You know, he's killed both her own children, and she's still with him. She's still. What's wrong with her? I just don't get it. Anyway, so I think for some women, it's like it's just so important to have a relationship, isn't it? I suppose we're brought up a bit like that. As you know, women of a sort of, when I was young, it was a bit like, oh, it's different now. I think young girls today, they're a bit more independent, aren't they? I hope so anyway. But like years ago when I was young, it was like your reason for life really was to get married and, have children, and you were encouraged to get a boyfriend, and if you didn't have a boyfriend, it was, you haven't got, you'll meet someone, like that was the most important thing. And then that's my generation. Then above my generation, it was, I remember my sister-in-law, who's, a little bit older, because my older brother there was quite an age gap. When they went along to get a mortgage, many years ago, they wouldn't take her earnings into account, because they said she was of childbearing age and she'd probably give up work soon anyway to have a baby. And she had a really good job in the social services. She was actually earning more money than my brother, and that's what she was told, because that was, I'm sure that's different now. But yeah, there's a certain women, they just can't be on their own. And probably certain men, well, I don't think any man can be on their own. It's rare for men to be on their own through choice. Women can be on their own through choice, because I think because they have female friends. So women don't always rely on men for their friendship, whereas men tend to maybe not talk to other men so much. And I feel like I'm not explaining this much, but this very well. But I think it's generally accepted that it's rarer for a man to be voluntarily on his own, whereas I think these days now women are choosing, to either not have relationships or not actually live with someone. But what do you think? Yes, Debbie, I saw this about Paul Lansell being arrested, or PA, we should call him, because sometimes when people send me messages with his full name in, they seem to disappear. I saw that. It was on Facebook, though. It was a Facebook post, wasn't it? In one of the, I hope so. Because I'm putting a video. I will be putting a video out later in the week. I'm just trying to decide how to put it together. And as it comes a bit closer now to the inquest and that, I want to say exactly what I think happened. But I don't know exactly what happened. But I've got my theories, and I've really tried to think in a different way. I've tried to look at things from all angles. I tried to give the benefit of the doubt, but when I put it all together, there's only one conclusion that I come to. Yeah, gosh. Oh, you didn't see it on Facebook, Debbie? Do you know where you saw? I saw it on Facebook. Let me see if I've got my phone with me that I can have a look on. It's not on, or it wasn't anyway before it came on air. It wasn't on Sky News or anything like that. Oh my God, it would be. It'd be awful for his girls in a way, but it'd be good in another way, because at least they'd know the truth. Let me see. Let me see. As far as I know, there's nothing on the mainstream news, but I have seen some things on Facebook, etc. But it did. No, there's nothing here. It did happen a couple of weeks ago as well, didn't it? There was a rumour. It was rumoured that he'd been arrested, that his door had been broken in, and these rumours, unfortunately, they do sort of happen. But I do believe that will happen one day. I certainly hope so. But I don't know. I do think I just feel it. I just feel it, and maybe I'm wrong. Won't be the first time, but I just feel it that it could happen one day. That it's just a question of joining all the dots, isn't it, and gathering the evidence together. And let's hope that if that's true, which I've tried to look at it another way, but I can't really. Yes, I saw this about the CCTV of Paul carrying a black bag, etc. Well, that, doesn't mean anything really in itself, does it? I don't know there'll be some evidence. There'll be things, to me, do you know what I think is? In a small village like that, people talk. People talk. So it doesn't matter what, everything appears on the surface. The police will be going around. Will have gone around, and they'll have talked to people, and someone will make a throwaway. There'll be a comment. I've said this right from the beginning. There'll be something that someone will just say, "Oh, well, of course, blah blah blah," and it'll be like, "Oh," and then they'll look into it, and that's what will do it. I do feel like the resolution of this case will come from local people. I still cannot, and I mean, of course, we've got the results of the inquest to come, and we've got to see what the cause of death is, and what, the result of the whatever happened on the 10th of January in the welfare check, etc. We don't know, do we? We don't know all the details. Yeah, Sheila, I saw that. Yeah, he was reported to have been carrying it, and that was the day before she was found, wasn't it? That was the day before her body was found. So I did see that, but of course nothing's been released officially, and the trouble is these sort of rumours, they do go around, but we have to have something official, let's hope so, because if there has been foul play, which I personally do think one way or another, in my eyes, PA is guilty. He's either guilty of foul play, or he's guilty because he's made Nicola feel, that she had no other option than to do that. That's my feeling. Now, why I feel that, I really have tried to look at things from another point of view and give PA the benefit of the doubt. But it's not only that, it's the weirdness with Emma, isn't it? That the more you think about the way things were from day one, Emma controlling everything. What has she got to do with any of it? She's not, I don't think she was even really a close friend of Nicola's. She was an acquaintance. She was a friend in the sense, we have friends that we go out with, don't we? But they're not friends. Yeah. Sheila says Jason Rothwell has openly admitted that a friend told him to search the wire on the 19th of February. Yes, well, I know, Sheila, you look into things very carefully. I know you do. I suppose I'm always just waiting for this official confirmation of things, because so many rumours fly around. But now people have a downer. I don't have a downer on Jason Rothwell. I don't feel this animosity. I don't know why. I just don't. Again, it's only a feeling. To me, I think he was, he was probably there many times. I don't know. And do you know what? It could have been him. Anybody who would have been walking up the river that day could have found. I mean, nobody. Why was there no police there? I mean, she hadn't been found. I don't understand this. So they said they thought she was in the river. That's what they said. Their hypothesis was in the river. But why was nobody there that day? Why did they have to call the police? Why weren't they looking? If they thought really strongly that she was there in the river, why weren't they there every day until she turned up? Why was it just so open that anyone could just walk down there and, and see. It just weird. It's like the police said they thought she was in the river, but they didn't act as if she was in the river. You know, I don't know. I saw the message you sent to, and the news came directly from Jason. Yeah. Well, I feel a bit sorry for him, to be honest, because you know, we don't know that he's done anything. And I've started following him on Facebook when he found the body. He doesn't ever mention Nicola. Now, at the end of the day, if he wanted to, he could make a lot of. He's probably been told not to mention it because of the inquest. But right from the beginning, he said, "I'm not doing any." What's the word? You know, he wasn't going to do any private sittings or anything like that. Can you imagine how many people, after that happened, would have been begging him to do a sitting with them because he'd gone there and, you know, he could have made a fortune. He could have made a fortune. I don't think he's that type of person, but that's just my impression. But, yeah. A friend told him to go to the river. Well, we'll see. Now, I mean, what if, hopefully, this week might bring some news, mightn't it? We might get some news this week. I think all rumours start for a reason. You know, they might get sort of blown out of proportion or whatever, but there's normally a little bit of truth in the beginning, isn't there? So this rumour, if you like, it is only a rumour at the moment till it appears on mainstream media that Paul's been arrested. There'll be a reason for it. Some, you know, people have a reason to think that, I think. But until actually we get it confirmed, we can't believe it, can we? I do follow him. I don't follow him on Instagram, but it's probably more since this came out. He hasn't posted. Yeah, I agree, Shirley. He posts lovely posts. They're all positive. He's not trying, as far as I can see, he's not tried to make any money out of Nicola's case. You know, we'll see. Maybe he's been told not to talk about it. Maybe he will after the inquest. I don't know. But as far as I can only go by my feelings. My feelings are I don't get a bad feeling of him. I really don't. He's a bit eccentric. He's a psychic. You know, psychics are eccentric. That's just the way they are. And I think, yeah, Jackie, that's a good point that I think about PA. That's something that makes me suspicious as well. I haven't seen one photo of him actually with Nicola's family. It's either Nicola's family or it's Nicola and PA, like when she was still alive. And since she's been found, it's all been Paul and Emma. And we don't know what about Emma's husband. You know, where is he? He's never been seen, or, you know, no men have been seen. I think I mentioned that on one video that I did. It's all these women in this village, like talking about Nicola and Emma especially, but no men. And it's always Emma with Paul and Emma controlling. Sometimes the things he said, you can hear Emma. Emma's written that script for him. You know, so I don't see why she's so involved in it. I don't trust Emma. I've tried to look at her in a different light. And it just, the more you try and look at it, the more suspicious it gets. And that very first interview when she had the cap pulled down over her eyes, oh my God, I couldn't believe that. When I saw that, it was like a different person from the later interviews. So anyway, I've got that comes into the video that will be coming out later this week as to what I think happened and why she was like that. Okay, well, I hope we get to find out what happened to Nicola, because
Imagine how it is for the family. This is how we feel. Everybody's so invested in this Nicola Bulley case. We all feel like we want justice for Nicola and we want to know what's happened, you know, and now we'll wait. We always have to wait, don't we? We're waiting for the inquest. That inquest is not normal for it to be that long. With Morel Sturrock, who only recently that she was, unfortunately, her and her child, her unborn child, Jaden, they were murdered by her partner. They've already having the inquest and details are coming out and we're getting to know what's happened, etc. Nicola's, we know nothing. Everyone's been sworn to secrecy. You know, the coroner has said nobody must talk about it. It's not normal, that. It's not normal. So there's something. There's something. Yeah, Sheila, shall we go there for dinner? I think we should go there one day. I'm never in London, but yeah, I'd like to go. I'd like to go to the St Pancras Renaissance Hotel and have a look at Ed, have a chat with Ed. Well, he probably wouldn't talk to me, but I'd like to go. I don't think it was you, Sheila, wasn't it? It was telling me about Tiggy, Prince Charles's ex-nanny, running a guest house or whatever. Is it near to you where you are? Definitely like to go there and stay for a few days and have a chat with Tiggy. Yeah, because you sort of hear about all these people. It'd be nice to meet them in person, wouldn't it? Okay, that's it. I'm off because I've got to go and make some dinner. But thank you ever so much for being here with me and keeping me company and listening to me waffling on as I do. And thank you, Marcia, for the coffee. And I will see you all very soon. So I'm going to prepare this video tomorrow morning. I don't know if I'll get it out for tomorrow night, but certainly by Tuesday. And that's when I'll see you again in the next video, unless something comes up in the meantime. Believe me, if something comes up in the meantime, I will be straight on here. Oh, thank you, Sheila. And yeah, thanks for all your comments. Thanks for your likes. All these things, they mean a lot to me. Just if you've subscribed, just watching the video, all that, it's great because it makes me feel, you know, this to me is sort of a hobby. You know, I have an interest in true crime and I get caught up in stories when they get interesting, you know, and they're always fascinating, isn't it? What people do and what you can't believe what people are capable of. And of course, they're capable of good things as well as bad things. It's not all terrible, but it's fascinating. So you watching me and liking the videos and things like that, it gives me a reason to do it. Makes me, although, you know, I like it and I might do it anyway, but it makes me feel good to know that you're enjoying it. So, and that's important to me as well. So thank you so much. And I will see you in the week. You're welcome, Rachel. Thank you. Debbie. Good night. Good night. And may your God go with you always. Bye.